Hello everyone and welcome back. I want to talk in this video a little bit about frugality. As you know from our previous video, Paul and I recently purchased a new sticks and bricks home, or a 1970s mobile home to be exact. And we have quite the ambitious goal for this property. We plan on paying this down within 3 to 5 years and then turning this eventually into an investment property. We see that as quite ambitious, and we know that it's going to involve some levels of frugality and a lot of saving on our part. We can no longer be frivolous and buy things that are not necessary, and we need to start to teach ourselves some skills that will also save us some money, whether that is home repairs or simple things like cooking more from scratch, which I'm more than happy to take on those duties as I now have the space to do so, as we're in the van and in our 13-foot travel trailer. Working with a 3-foot counter space was a bit of a challenge and a struggle at times. So I did want to show you just a bread recipe along the way as I'm speaking to you, and this is a very cheap and inexpensive way I've found to make bread. It's by no means a fancy bread or a sandwich bread for that matter, but it does get used for sandwiches, I will say that. But there's been quite a few different ways that Paul and I have begun our journey in frugality. We have cut a lot of our expenses down. Our insurance bill on our vehicle has been greatly lowered based on the area that we live in. We no longer have a trailer to insure since it's parked on the land. We cut our Starlink out. We no longer need to pay for a high-cost satellite system when we are now stationary. Paul cut his cell phone down to a carrier that is not a mainstream carrier. I have a mainstream carrier, but I have cut my plan down so that we no longer have streaming services or things of that sort, which are a bit of a luxury. So there's a lot of things that we've done recently and immediately out of the gate in order to cut down our expenses greatly and our monthly income. The job that Paul has taken on full time already, since we've moved here right out of the gate, all of his income will be going towards paying off the house, while my source will be fully on just living. And so there's other things we have to do in order to save money, such as buying in bulk and only shopping maybe once a month to kind of keep the temptation of buying a lot of things. Because even if you're not shopping in a big box store or home decor or something like that, you can still, unfortunately, get the endorphins and the drive from just grocery shopping. So we have to limit ourselves on the amount of time that we're going out and limiting those temptations along the way. Something else we've had to do is we've had to be mindful in the purchases coming into a house. It's expensive coming into a house. You have a lot of utilities you have to start up. You have a lot of deposits you have to pay. And so that took up quite a bit of our money. And so we had to think of ways to save on other things that we needed once again, such as a washer dryer, such as a bed frame, a new mattress, and things of that sort. And so some of those we were able to save on. We were able to purchase a washer and dryer off of Facebook Marketplace for a reasonable cost, and it's been working splendidly. And we're so happy to be out of the life of the laundromats once more, which also is saving us some money along the way. One of the luxuries, but also has some functionality that I treated myself to, was the purchase of a KitchenAid mixer. But I didn't buy it from the big box store. I didn't buy it from Costco. I purchased it on Facebook Marketplace. I spent $200 for it, and it came with everything I needed. It came with the standard attachments of the paddle, the whisk, the bread hook, and additionally I got bonus things such as a pasta roller, pasta maker. I got attachments for slicers and shredders, which I've already used multiple times. She even threw in a book on making pasta and extra ravioli cutters. So I feel that I got quite the steal on that, and I know it will be put to great use going forward. We are no stranger to frugal living. In fact, back in 2009, shortly after Paul and I were married, we both lost our jobs in the Great Recession. And so being out really scared us of not having a job and not having steady income. So we had to teach ourselves a lot of skills. One of the things that we taught ourselves was how to raise a garden, how to start seeds, how to can, how to preserve. And this was back in the days way before it was a thing. Simple living wasn't a term. Slow living was never thought of. It was simply just learning the ways of the old, learning the ways of our grandparents and our great-grandparents, and putting those into fruition. Because if anybody knew how to make it from nothing, it was definitely that generation. And so I feel so grateful and so thankful to have learned those skills at such a young age that I can now look back on them nowadays and use those to our benefit and know how to do things like that once more. It's been wonderful having this place of solitude and of stability to focus on just existing and taking things slow. Things like making a cup of tea, or baking my own bread, or making a dinner from scratch. It's allowed me to focus on my mental health and also to go back towards physical health, which I think unfortunately suffered a little bit during our duration of living on the road. There were good days, but there were also a lot of bad days where we were cooped up for long periods of time, and I'm so grateful now to have this place of solitude.
So Kirkland sells these really big, or I should say Costco sells these really big bags of like stir fry mix and other type of vegetable mixes that you can get. And I'm not going to use stir fry like every single night of the week. So sometimes, I would just want one or two of these things in the bag versus, the stir fry mix in general. So I'm going to go ahead and piece this out and see what we get, and then just freeze some of these individual components on their own. That way they're available when I want them, and I can mix them how I want and save a little bit of money so I'm not buying a bunch of individual fruits and vegetables. Okay, so here's what I'm left with after all of that sorting. So I ended up just leaving, the onions, the squash, the peppers, and the water chestnuts in there just for a typical standard stir fry mix if I wanted it to. I guess I could piece that apart too if I really truly wanted to. Here's what we got the most of, in case you actually want to know what comes in these Kirkland bags that you're getting bulk on. And so the bulk was these green beans, and I also mixed in the the, I guess, sweet peas or whatever you want to call them. Those are in here as well. So that's a good chunk of those in there, as well as the broccoli. You get a really nice bit of broccoli. And then I pulled the carrots out separately as well. And I have to tell you guys, I'm so happy to see that this is not just a bulk of carrots in this stir fry mix, because I don't know about you who shop at Aldi, but all of their stir fry mixes are just nothing but carrots. So I'm so glad to see that wasn't the case with Kirkland. So you are getting a good value, I guess, at Costco there with that. And then I pulled out the mushrooms just in case maybe I wanted to do like a beef stroganoff on the side or something like that. That's the point of me kind of tearing this whole thing apart, is just piecing it out so that I can use it for multiple types of meals and not just setting myself up just for one standard meal, you know. So make the most of what you've got. So in this case, this is what I did to help save a little bit of money and stretch this out for some other meals in the future. Another interesting frugal thing that we like to do is we actually use solar lights in our house at night. And what I mean by that is that we use things that are rechargeable. So these little light bulbs, these actually came out of our van. So we use these for many years. We're very accustomed to them. They can hook on to different things, and they just charge with that little USB port, and we will use that with our solar generator. So our solar generator is hooked out to our solar panels in our side yard, and so we can essentially take that and charge these rechargeable lights. So free electricity, yay. The other thing that we do, and this is more the frugal thing, I guess, is that we have these string lights that we use, and these are just standard string lights. They are just solar powered. So with one of these little guys, it goes into the window there, and then at night when it gets dark, these will then turn on. And so I understand a lot of people aren't going to want to do that. It's kind of, you know, junky, and by all means, if we have friends and family coming over, those are probably coming down. But in the meantime, when it is just Paul and I here, there's really no point to just, you know, not use them. I mean, they save us probably a lot of money to do so. And so anyways, that is one of the things. We also utilize the lanterns. And again, this is from our van life days of living without, you know, on-grid type of hookups. And so we use lanterns to read and things like that. So we have a lot of different things that we can utilize. And so that is just a couple of them that we can use to really help with our electricity bill, because to be honest, with it being so much hotter here in Arizona, you have to kind of save somewhere. And so, you know, we're running our AC a lot, which is a huge energy hog. So by doing that, that is also something we can do. One of the other upgrades that we recently did to our house to kind of help combat that a little bit is with these little ceiling fans and LED lights. So before, there was incandescent lights up there, which take up a lot of energy. They're pulling a lot of wattage per hour, and this is LED, so this will be hardly nothing. And it has just a tiny little fan, which also kind of assists us in that whole trying to stay cool. So there's, again, you know, just weird little things like that can have kind of a nice major impact, because we want to be saving and using the electricity most where we need it, and a lot of that is with cooling it in the summer here, and the other aspect is for our gardening stuff. So if I can just, you know, sit on my couch and have my solar lights going, and yeah, it's not super bright, but it's enough to where I'm comfortable, I can see where I'm going, you know, and I can take that energy and bounce it to somewhere else where it is more greatly needed. So let's talk like typical making bread. And so if you're doing a sourdough loaf, that's going to take a lot of time, a lot of energy. I mean, I prepared myself to have a sourdough starter, to, you know, start baking bread on the regular, until I started reading recipes and I started watching videos. And the fact that these
ladies out there, you know, beautiful, pristine ladies and their wonderful children and their nice big farmhouses and stuff, that they have a whole day dedicated to baking bread just it's kind of strange and doesn't fit right with my schedule. And that's what you have to weigh. You have to weigh, do you have the time to do this or don't you? And so if I can make bread on the cheap with just like 4 ingredients and I don't have to sit there and fold it every half an hour for like 6 hours, then sign me up. I'm gonna do it that way. Versus, you know, people who are going to dedicate time within their schedules to do that. And maybe I will do that in the future at some point in time, but after kind of researching it more, to me it was not worth my time. Even though I love sourdough bread. In fact, that's, you know, when I had access to a Whole Foods nearby, I would buy the bowls constantly, you know, because it's just great for you. There's a lot of good benefits to sourdough. But anyways, that's kind of what I'm going to say as far as that. My bread takes maybe 2 hours at most to make. Sourdough is going to take you like a whole day, if not 2 days. So that's another way where I am kind of weird when it comes a little bit frugally. Alright, so another thing that might be some kind of weird to some people, not always, is saving your fats. So I mean like your cooking fats, bacon, whatever meats you're using. And we have this little nifty, I guess they call it a grease catcher, where it will filter out a lot of the extra particles on top, and then the animal fat will actually be saved down in here. And so we do that. Strangely enough, I got the idea from some wartime rationing, because that was very standard back in the day. They needed the fats and stuff to help produce bombs, and so a lot of folks had to save their animal fats, either to conserve for cooking or to ship it off to whichever departments needed it for back in the day during wartime. And so that is something that we are doing, is saving this. Makes great lard for like tortillas, and again, you can use it to cook for other things. I use it for tofu. I don't eat a lot of meat, but when I cook bacon, I save the grease, and then I will actually I know this sounds kind of crazy because people are like, that's defeating the purpose because you're eating vegetarian, but I use it to flavor my tofu and give it kind of a more pork type taste. So something else you can do that's kind of strange, but has been done many years before us. Thank you, my friends, for joining me as I go through this little bit different type of video, but as we are sharing parts of this new life, obviously we wanted to share some things with you as well on all different parts of aspects. So thanks for watching, my friends. Take care. See you next time.